Here's a takeoff video I did a few years ago in 2014. At the time I had an IO550B engine on the airplane with a Macaulay 409 prop, all aluminum. The stripes on this runway, from the beginning of one stripe to the beginning of the second stripe or following stripe, is 200 feet. It has been measured. So let's just see what happens. Power up, and away we go. And we are already climbing out of ground effect and climbing away. Very short takeoff, just about 200 feet ground roll. It's pretty good. And I did multiple takeoffs with the camera positioned differently so that I could get the side view. There are also videos near the end of the session with the camera mounted on the bottom of the airplane, so you could actually see the stripes and count them and watch the gear come up. As you can see, the grass is brown, so this was done in the fall, and the temperature was in the 70s. Field elevation is 186 feet. There was no wind for the early part of this session. For the later part, I had a 90-degree crosswind at about 7 miles per hour. As you can see, the ground roll starts, and in very short order, within 75 feet, I have the nose up and a pretty steep deck angle. The airplane lifts off at a very low airspeed when you do it this way, and you'll see the full technique in a bit. The technique is a bit awkward at first, but does become more comfortable with practice. Short field takeoff techniques are important, as well as short field landing techniques. And in this landing, I'm doing my best to keep it slow on final, to put the airplane on the end of the runway and get it stopped as quickly as possible. In this configuration, the 409 prop, Macaulay prop, is heavier than the prop I'm currently running, and I found that I needed extra speed on final in order to get the airplane to flare in this configuration. Now I'm flying solo, and I do have about 30 gallons of gas in the airplane. There's a toolkit in the baggage compartment that weighs about 30 pounds, and not a lot else in the airplane for this demonstration. Here we are on final. The airport runway is coming into view in the distance, and you'll see that I'm coming over the trees and then the grass, and you'll see the runway come into view so that we can try to put it right on the usable part of the runway for landing, which is just past these initial chevrons. And there it is. Touch down, get weight on the wheels, and put on brakes. There's the 500-foot mark as I go past, and then I make it to the crossing runway, which is about 700 feet. You can do better with the CG a bit farther aft on the landing technique. I'm a bit nose heavy here. And now we have the technique with the camera pointed out the left wing so that you can see what it looks like out the side. I had to do multiple takes for this one because I only had one camera, and I kept repositioning it. You can see the approach area of the runway coming into view. You'll see the pavement in a moment. And here it comes, right over the chevrons and touchdown. Okay, we get into the 500-foot mark. Airplane is slowing nicely, and I'm turning off at about 600 feet, 700 feet. The takeoff and landing performance of the Navion is really impressive, especially with a big engine. It doesn't need much runway. Now the camera has been repositioned to the bottom of the airplane to show the runway and takeoff roll as well as the gear retraction. For this sequence, The wind was blowing from my right at 90 degrees at about 7 miles per hour. If you watch the right strut, it will fully extend just as the airplane starts to go, and that's from the torque of the big engine pulling. And there's the 200 feet mark, and I'm just dragging through part of that. So, out of ground effect, gears coming up, flaps are coming up, and we'll be flying away. Very impressive airplane. You gotta love it. Now we're flying away. We'll go around the pattern, cycle the gear just so we can watch it go up and down. I guess in this case, down then back up. And we'll come back around for a landing with the camera on the bottom of the airplane. Turning final. Over the trees. The runway will come into view momentarily. There it is. And down we go. Get it on the wheels, get weight on the gear, and then grab the brakes to slow it down. You can see the nose gear compress. And off the runway at the intersection. Here goes another attempt. We will line up with a good landmark, which is this stripe. Try to get the nose wheel right on it. Power up. Here we go. Power comes in, strut lifts, she rolls, and that's 200 feet. The landing gear actuators are all in parallel with one another. So the one with the least resistance comes up first, followed by the others in order.